How do you think they're involved right now?
I'm hoping they're still involved right now, and there are leads being run by them to help, assess and offer, behavioral aspects to, the gumshoe work of this person and driving by that week and that night, and any DNA connection, whatever. So I hope that's happening, but I hope they're also, and I'm also a forensic linguist, so language is.
Past case like this, how much more difficult is it?
It's not that it's more difficult. It's just that you're basing it on the experience that you have.
That you are able to talk to.
Okay.
How
So
do
in
you-
the beginning, in the early days of the behavioral science unit, which then evolved into the behavioral analysis unit, the original profilers interviewed 38 serial offenders.
She was inside her own home. She was in Tucson, Arizona, a quiet neighborhood where nothing like this happens. And then she was gone. Not missing, not wandered off. Gone. Taken from her driveway on the night of February 1st, and not seen since. Here's what makes this case different from everything else you've watched. 3 of the most decorated FBI profilers in American history just sat down and built a suspect profile for Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. These aren't television consultants. These are the men who hunted serial killers for a living. The men who walked into maximum security prisons, sat across from monsters, and came out knowing exactly how a predator thinks. And what they built, that profile, is more specific than anything law enforcement has made public. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what kind of person these profilers believe took Nancy Guthrie. You'll also understand why, after 89 days, there is still no arrest, and what that silence actually means. But first, right now, before we go any further, if you're new to Crime Orbit, subscribe. This case is not over, and I am not stopping until it is. Now, back to Nancy. 89 days, 30,000 tips, full FBI involvement, and still nothing. No suspect named publicly. No arrest, no confirmed sighting. Just a driveway in Tucson. Just an 84-year-old woman who should be home right now. And 3 retired FBI profilers who say they know exactly who did this. But to understand what these profilers found, you need to understand what they were actually working with. Because some of what happened at that crime scene has never been discussed publicly until now. Here is what we know for certain about the night Nancy Guthrie disappeared. There was blood on the front step of her home. Not inside, outside. Right there at the threshold between her world and whoever came for her. There was no forced entry. Read that again. No forced entry. That single detail tells retired FBI profiler Jim Clemente everything, because when there's no forced entry, one of 2 things happened. Either Nancy opened that door herself, or someone got to her before she ever reached it. How much pre- and post-offense behavior is discernible from the crime scene? Clemente says, that's what builds a profile. That's where everything starts. And this crime scene, despite what you may have heard, gives profilers plenty to work with. The target selection alone speaks volumes. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. She lives alone. Her home sits in a relatively rural residential area of Tucson. Whoever came for her on February 1st knew exactly where she was. They knew she would be alone. They knew the neighborhood. They knew the timing. This was not random. Retired FBI profiler James Fitzgerald, who spent his career as a forensic linguist and helped crack the Unabomber case, says he was never convinced the ransom demand was genuine. This seems personal more than professional, Fitzgerald says. Need-driven behavior. more than financial benefit to the person. Fitzgerald also built something at Quantico called the CTAD, the Communicated Threat Assessment Database. Every written communication connected to this case, every email, every demand note, gets run through hundreds of thousands of prior criminal communications. The database looks for linguistic matches, behavioral fingerprints hiding inside the words. And here's what the forensic evidence tells us that nobody is saying out loud. The absence of forced entry doesn't just tell us how this person got in. It tells us this person had been planning this for a very long time. So if this person planned it, if they surveilled Nancy's home, learned her routine, chose their moment, then the real question isn't how. The real question is why Nancy? And the answer these profilers keep coming back to will genuinely disturb you. Say the name Savannah Guthrie. You know that name. NBC, Today Show, one of the most recognized faces in American morning television. And Nancy Guthrie is her mother, James Fitzgerald, the man who helped bring down the Unabomber, says that is not a coincidence. That is the entire case. I can't help but think that this involves Savannah Guthrie, Fitzgerald says. Something to do with someone she's been in contact with over the years. And it may not just be weeks or months before. Here is the theory these three profilers keep returning to. Not because it's sensational, because the behavioral evidence points directly at it. This is how Fitzgerald and retired FBI profiler Raymond Carr break it down. 1. The stalker doesn't start violent. It starts with letters, emails, showing up outside 30 Rock during Today Show tapings. Small, invisible, obsessive behaviors. 2. The obsession escalates when the target stays unreachable. Savannah Guthrie lives in New York. She has security. She has a doorman. She has the kind of protection that makes direct access impossible. 3. When the primary target is unreachable, the obsession redirects. The person closest to Savannah, the woman who gave birth to her, becomes the next best option. 4. The grievance can go back years, possibly decades. Carr points to a case where a shooter held a grudge for 25 years before acting. This offender may have been watching Savannah since long before February 1st. 5. The digital footprint already exists. Every email, every social media message, every fan letter ever sent to Savannah Guthrie. That record exists right now, and it may contain this person's name. I think the answer to this case will lie somewhere in there, Fitzgerald says. 90 days of silence, and the answer might be sitting in an inbox somewhere. Do you think the ransom demand was real? Or was it a deliberate distraction? Drop your theory in the comments. I read every single one. A theory is powerful, but a profile is a weapon. And what these three profilers actually built, the specific characteristics of the person they believe took Nancy Guthrie, that's what we need to talk about right now. A profile is not a name. Let's be clear about that from the start. What Jim Clemente, James Fitzgerald, and Raymond Carr built is a map, a precise behavioral map that narrows the suspect pool from 330 million Americans down to a very specific type of person. Here is what that map looks like. This person is almost certainly male. The nature of the target selection and the physical reality of abducting an 84-year-old woman from her home points there directly. This person is not a predator with a victim type. He doesn't target elderly women. He targeted this elderly woman because of who her daughter is. This person planned extensively. The surveillance of Nancy's home, the knowledge of her routine, the chosen timing on February 1st. None of that happens spontaneously. This person has likely never been arrested for a violent offense. He existed completely below law enforcement's radar. That's why 30,000 tips haven't produced an arrest. He doesn't look like what you expect. And this is the detail that Clemente keeps returning to, the one that should genuinely disturb you. They treat other people like they are pieces of furniture, Clemente says. They do not care. They do not care at all. Subscribe to Crime Orbit right now, because when this case breaks, and it will break, you need to be here. This profile exists. The FBI has it. And somewhere out there, a person who matches every single one of these characteristics is living a completely normal life. Does this profile match anyone you've seen discussed in coverage of this case? Tell me what you think below. So, here's where we actually are. The profile is built. The digital trail may exist. And yet, 89 days later, Nancy Guthrie is still missing. What does that mean? And what happens now? 89 days is not forever in an FBI investigation. James Fitzgerald was brought into the Unabomber case at the 17-year mark. Within 9 months, they had him. These things take time. But for Nancy Guthrie's family, 89 days is an eternity. Here is the most honest thing anyone has said about this case. A source close to the investigation told me directly, just recently, we got nothing. 30,000 tips, full FBI resources, and right now they are calling back psychics. Raymond Carr said something that hasn't left me since I heard it. We don't know, he said, whether this person's need-driven behavior has been satisfied. Read that carefully. The people who spent their careers hunting monsters are telling you they do not know if this is over. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. She has a daughter who loves her. She had a home and a routine and a life. And she was taken from her driveway on a February night. The profile is real. The digital trail may exist. The answer may already be inside Savannah Guthrie's inbox. If you were the FBI right now, where would you look next? Tell me below. Subscribe to Crime Orbit. The moment this case breaks, you'll be the first to know. Nancy Guthrie deserves that, and so does your